I was asked recently in the comments if I would speak on the death penalty and my opinion of it. My opinion is apropos to the conversation because I was charged along with my two co-defendants, Ty Abreu and August Stuckey, with a special circumstances murder. In the state of California, the minimum penalty that can be applied for special circumstances murder is life without the possibility of parole. The only other sentence that can be imposed is the death penalty. Obviously, I didn't receive the death penalty. Myself and August Stuckey pled down to lesser charges, partially to avoid the possibility of that ultimate punishment. Though Ty Abreu was convicted of a special circumstances murder, he did not receive the death penalty. He received a sentence of life without the possibility of parole, and that sentence has since been reduced to simply life. He may get out someday. My problem with the death penalty is that it can be applied unjustly, that a man who is innocent of the crime of which he's been convicted can be executed for it. Speaking from my own personal experience, the criminal case of which I was convicted, Ty Abreu didn't kill anybody. He did not commit a special circumstances murder under any definition of the term. He should not have been eligible for the death penalty, and he could reasonably have been executed. Of course, this is just one man's opinion, but this has been crowdsourced. The Pew Research Group has asked a number of Americans about their opinions on the death penalty, and there are a couple of statistics that I think are relevant. One is that 56% of Americans, more than half, believe that if you are African American, you are more likely to receive the death penalty for a similar criminal offense than if you are a Caucasian. More than half of the Americans in this country who were polled think that you are more likely to be executed if you're the wrong ethnicity. I don't know how we continue to execute men without engaging in a conversation about how that cannot possibly be just. Additionally, 78%, almost 8 out of 10 people, think that there is a possibility somebody could be executed, even though they were innocent in the U.S., that even though they went through the appeal process, that even though they were found guilty at trial, they might be innocent and still killed. This is my problem with the death penalty, that if it is consistently applied, somebody who committed no wrong act will have their life taken from them. The Innocence Project did DNA testing of men on death row whenever DNA testing became available. Almost 20 people were released because of this new science. It turned out that there was evidence they hadn't committed the crime. Individually, their cases may be contentious, but as a whole, these 20 men, I don't think anybody can reasonably argue that not one of them was pending execution and has since been released for a crime they did not commit. The death penalty can and doubtless has been applied to innocent men. Finally, I'd like to speak philosophically on the death penalty. This question was proffered in the comment section of another video that I did by a YouTube channel that I particularly enjoy watching, Immovable Wisdom. They speak on the relationship between Zen philosophy and sword-based martial arts, two things which I've spent a large portion of my life interested in. For the second half of my term, I carried a book with me every time that I transferred, The Life-Giving Sword by Yagyu Munenori. He was a samurai, and he was familiar with the concepts of life, death, and capital punishment. He wrote in his book, and I am using the life-giving sword as an allegory for execution in this context. The life-giving sword can change the future. By taking a man's life, you can save the lives of the innocents he would have harmed. The life-giving sword can change the present. Because it is bare and available, evil men will stand down. They will not commit evil acts for fear of reprisal. The sword cannot change the past. It cannot bring back the dead. It cannot right wrongs. This is why I'm against the idea of the death penalty as a form of vengeance. that there are some crimes that a man can commit that are so abhorrent that he must be executed rather than housed safely for the rest of his life, because we can't live in the same world as somebody who's that evil. It discounts the possibility of change, of rehabilitation. A man can be a monster on one day and grow towards the light and spend his life trying to do good rather than evil. It happens. I've seen it. Of course, there are some people who refuse to turn towards the light, who, whether through a proclivity, habit, or perhaps nature, they are evil men. Consider that Ted Bundy was arrested and then escaped twice from custody and committed multiple murders after his escape. Consider that there are men in prison who use force and violence and the threat of pain or death to control the environment and make it a worse place to run gangs. They commit or order institutional murders routinely. If somebody consistently, as a practice, as a manner of what they want to do with their life, hurts other people, they find ways, even within bars, to hurt the men around them and the men on the outside, the women around them and the women on the outside. I am in favor of the death penalty. Those men should be removed from the face of this planet because they are making a choice to do evil. But it is the only context in which I can countenance it. I realize that it's just my opinion, but I do feel that I've earned the right to an opinion on this matter. Thank you for listening today.